Let's move on to the drama at 60 Minutes and CBS more broadly, Krystal, because a story broke yesterday in the New York Times that the executive producer, we can go ahead and put this first tear sheet up on the screen, the executive producer of CBS's 60 Minutes resigned and cited a, quote, loss of independence. This is Bill Owens. He's actually only the third person, as the New York Times notes, to run the program in its 57-year history. That speaks to really the continuity of leadership behind 60 Minutes. And I think, Krystal, probably also how serious CBS is about having continuity of leadership at 60 Minutes. Owens said, quote, over the past months, it has become clear that I would not be allowed to run the show as I have always run it to make independent decisions based on what is right for 60 Minutes, right for the audience. So having defended the show and what we stand for from every angle over time with everything I could, I'm stepping aside so the show can move forward. That memo was leaked to the New York Times strategically, probably not by CBS, but maybe by CBS. But we learned more as the day went on about exactly what happened there. This is from Semaphore. They had a pretty good report on what was happening behind the scenes, because I just want to say that Bill Owens' memo is pretty careful in remaining vague about how he wasn't able to make, quote, independent decisions. Obviously, the New York Times immediately framed it in the context of the suit that Donald Trump is fighting CBS in over that the edited Kamala Harris interview on 60 Minutes ahead of the election. The Trump campaign is still, or the Trump camp is claiming that amounted to election interference, but we've seen like ABC News settle with Trump over the George Stephanopoulos case, and so questions about what's really going on between the Trump administration and CBS were immediately raised in light of this information. And then Semaphore had a scoop from Max Tanney yesterday that Sherry Redstone, who is the head of CBS, she owns Paramount and is therefore the head of CBS, was keeping tabs on 60 Minutes segments about Donald Trump, according to two people familiar to the situation. This was in, quote, recent days. She sought to know which upcoming 60 Minutes stories were about Trump. And why that's interesting also is that 60 Minutes, there was an AP story I went and found yesterday, Krystal, about how fearless 60 Minutes had been about Donald Trump after he was, or around the time of the inauguration, despite the legal battle. So there's something in recent days here, according to the Semaphore report, where Redstone was looking to kind of keep tabs on how they covered Donald Trump. So what's your reaction, Krystal?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think there were a lot of indications. So 60 Minutes has, I think, done some fantastic journalism in the Trump 2.0 era. We highlighted here a report. They were one of the first to dig into, like, okay, well, who actually were these people you claimed were the worst gang members that got disappeared into the torture dungeon in El Salvador, in particular highlighting the case of Andre, the makeup artist, and they, dug into his story and those of others and talked to his loved ones. And they were the ones to first analyze and find, I think it was their finding was 75% of those who were sent had no criminal record whatsoever. So they have done some extraordinary work. I don't think anyone could deny that, and seem to be unflinching. On the other hand, apparently, Emily, according to, I believe this was a New York Times report, some of the problem began after a 60 Minute segment that you might remember in January about the war about Israel's assault on Gaza. And they interviewed former State Department officials who had resigned over their horror at what the U.S. was doing there. They shared exclusive images from within Gaza that exposed how barbarous it was. They talked about how, by one analysis, there were 70,000 Palestinians who had been killed there. And apparently, Sherry Redstone, after that, complained to CBS executives about that segment. And they appointed a CBS producer to a new role overseeing the news division's journalistic standards. And she was put into place to review any segments that were deemed politically sensitive. So that appears to have been part of it as well. And she, by the way, she's Paramount's controlling shareholder. So she's like the one in charge. And they're trying to get approval for a multi-billion-dollar sale of her company to Skydance, which is run by Larry Ellison. So, I mean, this is the problem with corporate media, right? This is the problem with corporate media. 60 Minutes is not important to Sherry Redstone. They want their merger deal to go through. Yeah. That's what the real interest of the bottom line is. And doing really hard-hitting journalism on the Trump administration is not consistent with the goal of obtaining your merger approval, especially with this administration, which weaponizes the government to punish those that they perceive to be enemies. So you add to that the Kamala Harris thing, and you can see that, pressure was coming down of, well, how often are you going to say negative things about the Trump administration and cover things that they're doing in an unflattering light? We need to soften the edges. We need to be made aware. And even just that, and I speak from experience, even just that insertion of like the top corporate brass needs to know if you're doing a Trump-related story, that is intended to have a chilling effect, because who wants to always go up the chain to the boss and beg and plead your case and whatever? So if you're weighing two different storylines and one requires you to do that, and one of them can sail through and you're not going to have any political issues within the company, there's going to be heavy incentive to move in that direction. So, I think it shows a lot of integrity that he got to a point where he felt he had fought as hard as he could to maintain his journalistic independence and that of the program, and got to a place where it's like, I can't associate myself with this anymore.
And this is really interesting, the Skydance stuff. So the New York Times in this report says Redstone is eager to secure the Trump administration's approval for a multi-billion-dollar sale of her company to Skydance, a company run by the son of tech billionaire Larry Ellison. Bear in mind, and I'll get to this more in a second, Larry Ellison is fairly close with the Trump administration. The Times also reports that Redstone has, quote, expressed a desire to settle Mr. Trump's case, which stems from what the president has called a deceptively edited interview in October with Vice President Kamala Harris that aired on 60 Minutes. That would essentially amount, I mean, it is such a stupid and ridiculous case, even if CBS did deceptively, but corporate media is always like deceptively editing stuff. It's not illegal, and it's not defamation in the vast majority of cases, including this one. So to settle that case, unlike the George Stephanopoulos one, which I think was actually a lot trickier from ABC, this is not the same thing. That would basically amount to a bribe in the context of this sale. Like, that's how stupid it would be to settle this case with Trump. From just a legal standpoint, that's how stupid it would be. But from a business standpoint, it may indeed be very clever. I want to flash back to a New York Times headline, or a New York Post headline, I'm sorry, from January, when Donald Trump announced his big AI deal. This is an exclusive in the New York Post. Larry Ellison's backing of Trump's $500 billion AI project could help save Paramount merger, according to sources. Ellison, they write, whose net worth is currently pegged by Forbes at $205 billion, is likely hoping his show of support for Stargate will help his son David's Skydance Media to gain regulatory approval for his controversial $8 billion deal to merge with Paramount. That's what's going on. That's like how serious they are about this freaking merger, it's now affecting 60 Minutes. It's just so, I mean, this, again, like, this is not exceptional. This stuff happens. This is the habit of corporate media. It's how they handle their news. But holy smokes, this one is so brazen.
I mean, I think, this is at a new level. I don't think there's any doubt that it's at a new level. And it's because the Trump administration is at a new level in just making it really clear that they're going to help their friends and they're going to fuck their enemies. And they're going to use, every power that they have in the state, legal and illegal, in order to do it. And, this is my concern with, something like an antitrust agenda, which I think is so important, and which, was significantly moved forward under the Biden administration with Lena Khan and with Jonathan Cantor. And, one of the most positive developments of the Biden administration was moving that direction. But if you have an administration that is just going to use those powers of greenlighting and blocking mergers as basically a political weapon, you're going to discredit an entire project, which is actually really important and really positive for the American people. And, that certainly that's how corporate America thinks that the Trump administration is going about their business, that it has nothing to do with the merits of whether the merger is going to be beneficial for the country or not, and everything to do with whether or not you appropriately praised him, how much money you gave to the inauguration, whether you ponied up the money for his Stargate thing, whether you spent $1 million to go down to Mar-a-Lago and plead your case, et cetera. And that's a really bad place for a purported democracy to be. That's a very bad place for it to be, because then you just end up with a cult of sycophantic, favored oligarchs who get to do what they want with impunity and run everything.
This is oligarchy. This is your classic example. A source close to Paramount back in January said, quote, "This is very smart for Larry to do. It tells me he won't have any issues with the Paramount deal." And that's in reference to, again, him backing this Stargate project, the $500 billion AI project that Trump came out and did that press conference with very early in the second term, surrounded by Sam Altman and Larry Ellison and others right away. And so then you have a source talking in the New York Post say, "Oh, it tells me he's not going to have any problem at all with this Skydance merger."
Unbelievable.
It really, it's perfect. But what's also interesting about it is it reminds me so much of what happened with Mark Zuckerberg last week. We'll see. But Mark Zuckerberg has been pouring millions of dollars to lobby the Trump administration to back off the antitrust suit. And he got smacked in the face, metaphorically, last week when Trump's FTC went through with it, because Trump's FTC, in a sort of nod to the new right that kind of helped Trump get back in power, is staffed by legit, like, Lena Khan types. And we'll see, again, if you're a Lena Khan type operating under Donald Trump, you probably aren't the same as a Lena Khan type operating under Joe Biden, who was like just vacant, mentally vacant for most of his presidency. If Donald Trump does pick up the phone and tell them to stop the antitrust case into Facebook or Meta, then maybe that does legitimately change things. But Zuckerberg was in for spent all this money and was in for a really harsh awakening when he realized Andrew Ferguson was not dropping the suit, and Gail Slater is serious. And these people are like actual, we don't know how much power they'll have when everything is said and done at the end of this administration, but they're like actual anti-corporate ideologues who have this like opposition to the ideology of antitrust that was popular on the right and the center left for a long time. And I don't know if Larry Ellison is about to run headfirst into the exact same thing, maybe because this is the nature of Donald Trump. We were talking about this in the tariff block. This is about what mood Donald Trump is in on a given day and who can have his ear on a given day. We now know that with Facebook, Meta, he was persuaded by a meeting that he had with Andrew Ferguson. So we actually don't know what's going to happen with this. But it is sort of, I guess the silver lining is amusing, Krystal, to watch the oligarchs sort of stretch their necks out with millions and millions of dollars, put the credibility of their flagship news program on the line to get a freaking merger through. It's just so pathetic.
Yeah. It is pathetic. I mean, Zuckerberg is particularly pathetic because he didn't just do all the like sucking up and the, here's some cash for your inauguration, or I don't remember the details. I think he did give for the inauguration, but he also like completely changed his like personal appearance and went on Joe Rogan like, I'm moving content moderation to Texas. Like he did the whole thing, and they're still like, no, we still don't like you. Sorry.
And it's just like, it is so, it goes to what we were talking about with Rahm Emanuel again earlier in the show, or Gavin Newsom going from using Latinx to being like, I never use Latinx. It's like they believe in their own power and their own bank accounts and their own businesses more than they believe in any of the politics that they wear, literally in Zuckerberg's case, like fashion.
With this big chain,
Yeah. He wears his politics, like his politics change with his fashion because he is trying to like suck up to people. And he's trying to like do something with his it's all very obvious what he's doing. It's very transparent what he's doing. And with him, he goes from taking meetings with the FBI and then taking their wink wink and suppressing the Hunter Biden story on Meta to being like, oh, the censorship is horrible and we never intended that, to be as it was just so stupid. And
they're still censoring aggressively on behalf of the Israelis, by the way, which has been exposed, especially on Instagram.
It's so pathetic. It's also pathetic.
It is pathetic. And it does get to like the Gavin Newsom point too of like, they still don't like you, bro. Like they still aren't going to like you. And I just want to say, like, the instinct from the base of the Republican Party on the populist right, that the tech oligarchs are an evil, malevolent force in American society, like, that instinct is correct.
Yes.
I think that they are a malevolent force in the world. I think they are anti-human. I think they are, Naomi Klein said this, and I agree. I think they are anti-creation. I think that they have these bizarre, like, end times cult type fantasies about uploading their consciousness to the cloud.
Yep.
And what did Elon say? We're being used to, like, boot AI. Like, that's their view of the world. And I think they need to be stopped at all costs. And one of the things that has disturbed me the most in this Trump administration is the way that their ideology, through the person of Elon and Doge and how much power and sway he has had in the government, has been quite ascendant in a way that I think is genuinely a threat to people who value humanity.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, I think we're in a time when people are so, rootless, and, it's easy to get caught up in going along with, whatever someone like Donald Trump is surrounding himself with, because people put their trust in different figures, and we're, like, looking for that. And I think it's where the whether you agree with it or not, the moral clarity that Bernie Sanders has come out with in the last month or so is really, really attractive to people, because it's not wishy-washy, milquetoast, Rahm Emanuel, Gavin Newsom bullshit. This is a clear and coherent worldview that I deeply believe in with every fiber of my being. Here's why. That's really attractive to people right now, and something for, I think, the right to watch out for as well, because it's not clear. It really muddles it to bring Elon Musk and some of these tech guys into the picture.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. And the agenda that they want is not one that serves humanity.
That's right. Well, on that note, Krystal, the destruction of humanity.
I like that we started with this peg about 60 Minutes and somehow ended up in the tech barons wanting to destroy the world. I'm not even really sure how we got. Mergers, that's how.
I was just over here, like, Googling Larry Ellison, getting to the New York Post article, and then we went off the rails because why not? It's a girl show.
Girl
no
show.
rules.
That's what it is.
There's no rules on the girl shows.
We need to invite those ladies. What are their names from the what is the
I've had it. I've
had it podcast.
Yeah.
We need to have those ladies on with us, Emily. We need to make amends. I can do like we can do a restorative justice with you and them. We can
You're
come
like
together.
the Steve Witkoff.
Yeah. I'll be like, you don't want me to meet with them, Emily, because you are afraid I'm going to realize they're actually nice people.
Maybe. I don't know. We'll find out. Maybe we'll find out. We'll see. We'll see what we can do, Krystal.
There you go. We'll work it out. Well, thank you for having me, Emily. Pleasure. I enjoy it. It's always fun. And I'll be back with soccer tomorrow. Should be back to normal tomorrow. And we've got the Friday show. So we'll see who shows up for that. We kind of keep it loose about which hosts join for the Friday show. So you'd be surprised.
Yeah, no, it's always a fun surprise. Ryan and I didn't know that you and Sagar weren't going to be on last week. And we logged on and we were like, oh, okay, I guess we're just going to be playing the roles of Krystal and Sagar as best we can, in addition to the Ryan and Emily, which was, it was an interesting experiment.
You don't have to play our roles. You guys just do you. You don't need us.
But you're always with us in spirit.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, we'll see everybody on Friday. Thank you so much for tuning in. As a reminder, if you can't subscribe over at breakingpoints.com premium, go ahead and just like the video, send it to a friend. It helps us so much. We appreciate it. And we'll see you back here with more Krystal and Sagar tomorrow morning.
Hey, if you liked that video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Breaking Points.
If you want to see the rest of Counterpoints, go to breakingpoints.com to become a premium member and get the full uncut show every morning in your inbox and on Spotify.